A casual's guide to the hardcore.
Hello and welcome back to TinyBlueGames. My name of course is Seesaw or Chris, and today we're playing Wildstar. Now this is the very first section of the PvE section of our Casual's Guide to the Hardcore. Today we're going to be talking about creation. Now the title seems pretty self-explanatory. We're going to talk about what server to play in, creating your character, talk a bit about race, class, path, all that, all the things you want to think about before you push the create button, because when you get to the end of the game, you can change some stuff, but you can't change all of it. So we're going to talk about that today. I'll see you in the video. All right, so let's talk about creation. So the very first thing you're going to do, if you're new to the game, I mean, obviously people might be watching this who've already created characters before, but I'm just going to go through it quickly. You're going to want to choose your server. And now, as I've mentioned before in many videos, you want to choose the PvE server. Either if you're in North America or Europe, the PvE servers are the most populated at the current state of the game. So I would choose those. I'd highly recommend it. So we'll enter the PvE server and we'll move to the next little part of the video. So we'll see all my other characters here and we'll go to create character at the bottom. And now we have a choice between two factions, which I guess is what we should talk about first. So what do we know about the two factions? We know that, from a story point of view, the Exiles are thought to be kind of the good people, and the Dominion are thought to be kind of the bad people. I mean, obviously there's a bit of back and forth on that, so you can make your own opinion. It's not huge to, the actual gameplay as much as, just how you want to feel about yourself. As far as gameplay is concerned, though, the Exiles currently have, about double the population as the Dominion. That being said, the best raiding guilds are currently on the Dominion, I think. So for PvE, there's pros and cons to both sides. You'll be able to do PvE on either side, though, so don't be afraid of that. And if you really don't care, I would suggest you go to the Dominion to balance the factions a bit, because that would be great. As far as PvP goes, currently, and they're going to rework the system, and even in Drop 5 they're coming up with same faction battlegrounds, so it's not huge what I'm saying right now, but at the instant right now there's quicker queues for Dominion just because there's less people, I think, and they generally win more in my personal opinion. But I mean, then I'll go on my Dominion characters and get killed, so I don't know what to say about that. For the purposes of this, we're just going to make an Exile, and we're going to move to race. So race isn't huge. There is class race locks at this point. They're thinking of changing. Well, they haven't formally said it, but it's on their list of things that they might do, is make it so any race can be any class. There's a lot of people who want that. But at any rate, what am I going to make? Well, we'll just say I'm going to be an Orin for right now. Will be a cool little Orin. Obviously, I'll just go through the races real quickly. So humans, Orins, Granoks, Mordesh, and then you have the female counterparts for all of them. I'm just going to go through them quickly. If you want more of an in-depth character creation video, there's already some that have been made. It's also not huge if you do make your character not perfect for looks, because you can change it in the in-game chop shop. So I'm not going to focus hugely on this, and it's just because you can change it. I'm focusing on what you can't change at the moment. So I just went through the Dominion races as well, just so you could get a look at them. So for Exiles, I would say the least played is either Human or Granok. Just Humans is obvious because most people don't want to be boring humans, and Granok, I don't know why they're the least played, but they are. Maybe just from the classes they can be, I don't know. But we're gonna go with Orin, just as something to be. Now let's talk about the class, which is obviously the most important thing you're going to talk about when making your character, because this is the core part of your character. What do we want to know about the class? So you've got warriors, and I'm going to do PvE first, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about PvP for each class. So for warriors, for PvE, they can be DPS obviously, and they can be tanks. Right now they're known to be the top damage in PvE. They're going to get a nerf next patch. They've been trying to get nerfed each patch to make them even, but they've consistently been at the top. So if you're interested in that, that's who the warriors are right now. For tanks, they were weak at the start and they've been buffed up. And I think all the tanks are pretty on par now. They all have their own specialties, but they all feel playable for sure. And when you're making a character, you really want to think about what your off spec is for the character. Because a lot of people go in just thinking that, hey, they want to be a DPS warrior or something like that. But you'll get to the end game or you'll go through leveling and you'll be like, hey, I really want these insta Qs and dungeons, right? So think about what your off spec could be as well. If you want tank, heal, think about it. For PvP, warriors are also one of the strongest at the moment. They're receiving nerfs as well. They're really good damage dealers. Lots of burst potential, lots of CC movement and all that. They've got a nice package for PvP, so you're not going to be disappointed on them. You could also tank and take flags, but I think tanks are getting nerfed for PvP in the next patch as well. Engineers, what do we got for engineers? Engineers are DPS and tanks as well. They're ranged and they wear heavy armor. Warriors wear heavy armor. I didn't mention that either, but it's pretty obvious. Engineers wear heavy armor. The DPS for PvE is sort of the middle of the pack right now. They've got some interesting mechanics to them. A lot of people either love them or hate them is what I find of engineers. My main is an engineer and I'm quite fond of them, so I would recommend trying it if you haven't. It's one of the more unique feeling classes to this game, I would say, because I mean every game has a warrior, every game has a thief kind of thing. An engineer is a little bit different, and I like them. If you're looking for pets, this would be the class to play, I guess, because it's the most pet-like class in the entire game, which would be your little bots that move around. And don't think of them as like little turrets, like kids. They look cute and they make little sounds and stuff too. What we talk about tanking, you can tank a bit at a range. Like, you're not going to be tanking everything at a range, though. A lot of people thought that when, I don't know, I kind of thought that for some reason when the game was being released, that I'd be tanking things at a range. But, bosses that stand in the same place, yeah, that makes sense. But, for trash and stuff, you want them on you. So, I don't know. The tanking's pretty good, though. There's a lot of interesting mechanics you've got some bots for tanking as well, so it's pretty fun. Ultimately, for engineers, they have very low mobility, and this applies for PvP too. So this applies for everything right now. I'm just gonna talk about it. Very low mobility at this current state. They have one skill, which is not bad, but it's far less than other classes. But what they do have that's really good is they've got blinds, which is awesome, and they've got a great CC break, maybe one of the best in the game for PvP and PvE. So that's one of my favorite skills that they have. We'll talk about espers, who can be DPS or healers. For DPS, they're known to be one of the more complicated DPS classes right now, just from the rotation you have to do. So it's kind of cool to play the mysterious DPS rotation class. Obviously, people are going to get changed, so I can't say that forever. But that being said, I've seen espers who have rocked the DPS charts. No class can't rock the DPS charts if you're good, so don't think anyone's not going to do well. They're pretty good for DPS, obviously. Healing, pretty fun as well. They've got a mix of single target and AoE sort of stuff. They're the most traditional feeling healer, which a lot of people like as well. But they're a good time. For PvP, I would highly recommend doing DPS for an Esper at the moment, as their heals in PvP aren't as good as some other classes. That being said, I've seen everyone do every role fine, so don't shy away from stuff. Medics, what are we going to say? Well, medics, they love AoE damage. They've got a lot of fields and stuff. They've got cool little probes. They're a pretty unique class as well. What else you got here? You've got medium armor. You've got, I don't know, they've got a nice mix of, they've been buffed up from the start of the game. If you tried a medic at the start, they had some issues. They're in a good place right now for DPS, so I'm very pro medic. Let's talk about heals though. Heals, you're going to be looking more at a tank healer in raids, because you can heal shields as well, which makes you pretty sought after for raids, which is always a fun thing. You bring a lot of new stuff to the healing game that some of the other classes can't do, and that's always valuable. For PvE, or PvP rather, they're pretty good in both sense. Like, I would definitely heal on them, and I definitely DPS on them. You probably see more healing medics in PvP, but I've seen some really good DPS ones as well. Let's talk about Stalker. This is the stealth class. You want to be stealth. You want to kill people from behind. This is your class. Sneaky little bastards. Very good movement. PvE, they have really good DPS. I think they're below warriors, like just below warriors at the moment. They're obviously melee or whatever, so you have to be up close to the boss. Tanking is in a pretty good place right now. There was some ups and downs for it, but I think, I've got a friend who does it, and he hasn't had any issues recently, at least for dungeons. So, it's pretty viable either way. PvP, it's the, sneak up and kill people class. A lot of people have fun with it. I'd say they're the most popular class in PvP, possibly. Maybe them or the Spellslinger. So, just know that if you want to be a PvP stalker, you're probably going to see other stalkers. Lots of mobility, lots of CC, lots of burst. Fun guys, really, just a good time. Spellslingers, what can I say? I hate them. No, I'm actually going to be making one pretty soon here. I hate them as an engineer in PvP because they can sort of strafe back and forth a lot better than I can on my engineer, and they tend to kill me because of that. They're the Cowboys of the game. Lots of range DPS. They're light wearers. Both for PvE and PvP, they're great DPS. Their heals are a bit more interesting. They got reworked a fair bit recently, so I'm interested to try them again. But from what I understand, they have pretty good AoE heals. They have a nice mix of single target as well, but they've got sort of like heal buffs as well and shields and stuff. They've got a lot more interesting mechanics that way than some of the other traditional healers in this game. I've seen them do both roles easily, so there's nothing to be scared of when rolling a Spellslinger. For PvP, God, like I said at the start, I hate going against them. There's some really good Spellslingers in this game. It seems like they have everything. They've got roots, they've got stuns, they've got get outs into their like little void world or whatever. They've got massive damage, they've got range, they've got it seems like everything. I'd recommend DPSing in PvP if you want a fun time, but I've seen them heal and do fine as well. Ultimately a pretty strong class right now, and it's hard because you don't really they're not overpowered per se. They're just really pretty good at everything. So I don't know. Obviously they're squishy if you ever catch one. So that's what I'm going to talk about. Let's talk about scientists. Let's talk about paths rather. There's 4 paths. They dictate how you can you get little quests for them. A lot of people are confused because they think it's going to change how your questing is. The quests, for your paths, don't actually give you XP towards max level until you've capped the quests or the paths themselves, I think. Sorry for the messed up sentence there. So don't think that what you choose is necessarily going to change how you play, do questing and all that. You can in fact just completely ignore your path, as a lot of people did when making their first tune. So it's not a make it or break it thing. That being said, there's no current way to change your path at max level. A lot of people in the forums want this as well. So just be aware of that what you choose is what you get. And there's kind of 3 main perks for each one as you level them up. So we're going to talk about that. Soldiers probably have the least exciting perks in my opinion. They've got, a little weapon thing that they drop down, but that's rarely used. Their most used one is called Bailout, and it kind of removes everyone from a fight to a safe place. It's good for, preventing wipes. You can use it sort of to get around in some dungeons. It's not bad. It's not great. The actual path is probably one of the more enjoyable ones for leveling, just because you kill a lot of things instead of doing, complex jumping puzzles or something like that. What else are we going to talk about? They've also got, when you're out of combat, you can bring your health up as well. But it's out of combat, so it's not huge. The Settler is probably the second most, useful in terms of top level. And actually, they're probably the most useful for leveling, because what you do is you can build buffs in a lot of places and build up settlements. Some of these buffs include damage boosters and XP boosters. So if you can build XP boosters, it's really going to help you. So I think they're the most enjoyable to level, and that was what my main was. As for max level, they can make crafting tables. They can make a Venbot, so they're the people who can summon repairs in the middle of dungeon and stuff and raid. So they're pretty useful that way. and they can summon mailboxes. So they're that class, or that I don't know, path that summons helpful things like that. Scientists are probably the most useful at max level. They're responsible for summoning people. They can summon the entire raid or entire groups through dungeons. They're very well suited for stalkers or stealth people who can sneak through, to a point and summon everyone in. Very good. They also can summon people to main cities after completing something. And then they've just got, they can scan things, which activates cool little things like glows on your character and such like that. So they're fun. They're pretty fun. I have my second character was a scientist, and I leveled it a lot better than I leveled my settler. So I enjoyed the scientist path. Explorer. Well, explorers, what they have at end level, it's more about you. It'll help you out. They've got sort of a thing where you can mark a location and you can teleport back to that location wherever you are in the game. They've got sort of a slow fall effect, and they've also got like a little jetpack, but you can't use that in instances, which kind of sucks, but it makes sense when you see what it does. They're pretty fun to play because it's more about lore and stuff like that. If you're going to take leveling slow or something like that and really just enjoy it, I would recommend probably trying to explore, especially if it's your first time in and you want to get all the lore of the game. It's pretty fun to do. That being said, it's not the most useful end game. So does any of it really matter now? That's the question. Ultimately, no. Your paths don't really matter. Your class obviously does. Your race doesn't matter really either. The class is the biggest thing. In the factions, it doesn't matter as much either. There's some better class path combinations, like I said. Maybe stalkers and the spellslingers are better scientists. Then you can pretty much be everything with everything, and you're not going to be judged. I don't think anyone would ever judge you that harshly based on your path, so don't be scared. What else we got here? We've got your name that you can put down here. First name, last name, pretty basic stuff. Then you enter game. And then you also have a little explanation about each thing on the side here. If you didn't like my explanation, I'd check that out. There's class armor previews now, which is pretty cool. Mid-game, and then you get final game, which is pretty cool. So if you want to see how they're going to look, I'd check that out. I didn't go through all of them because, it's not a huge deal, but they look pretty cool, don't they? Pretty nifty guys. And then down in the corner here, I don't know if you can see it. I'm trying to, it's right below what I was just showing you. There's a check mark to skip the tutorial on the ship, which has been wanted for a while. So you can do that as well. So I think that's pretty much all I want to cover in this video. The next video is going to be about leveling, and there's going to be a good few videos on leveling as we go through the levels, but I think I got everything I wanted to in this video. I'm sure I forgot something because there's just a ton to talk about. If I did, be sure to talk to me in the comments, and I will try and get back to you as soon as I can. I've been pretty good for replying to the condiments. Like, what the fuck's wrong with me? The comments recently. So do drop me a comment if you have a question. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. If you really enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to Wildstar or have an existing account with no game time left, please try the 10-day free trial either at the Wildstar homepage or by checking out the link I've left in the description below. And finally, if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe.